Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Everything feels so loud right now. The news, social media, politics. It just feels urgent and fragile. Like one wrong move and everything could tip right over. The whole world just feels tense. We're all waiting to hit the breaking point. And then there's AI, moving fast, changing everything. And for a lot of people, myself included, it's kind of terrifying. Instead of asking, what is AI going to take from us? What if we asked, could this actually make our lives a little more stable?
Today, we're taking the techno-optimist approach, which starts with the idea that most problems come from scarcity. Scarcity of energy, housing, healthcare, opportunity. When things are scarce, people can start to panic. One goal of AI seeks to change that because it makes intelligence cheap and scalable. If we use it right, that abundance could lower global pressure instead of increasing it by making life more predictable and less chaotic.
So even if AI could do more and more for us, the real question to me is still human. If these machines can think and create and help decide, what's there left for humans to do? This episode isn't about whether AI is good or bad. It's about what kind of people we want to be in a world where scarcity might not be the main problem anymore. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom.
I'm Callie.
I'm Mom.
Hey, guys.
So cool. This is a real futuristic kind of thought to me about there not being any scarcity.
Yeah. So let's kind of back up here and go to the beginning. Last week, we talked about a ChatGPT response of essentially it was from a U.S. perspective, how would you fix the world? And this was one of the alternate choices it provided me at the end of that outline, because it kind of says, well, I can detail it from all of these different political perspectives. And I saw this one that was titled Techno-Optimist, and it looked interesting, particularly because right about that same time last week, we also were thinking about WALL-E. We went back and watched most of it. At least I got through most of it. Mom, I think, finished it. Callie, did you end up finishing it?
I did.
I never went back and finished it. But anyways, this is kind of a grand strategy, if you will, an overarching plan from a techno-optimist perspective, according to ChatGPT, as to how it would kind of fix the world. And it does that through creating efficiencies to reduce, at a minimum, scarcity, potentially creating so much abundance that scarcity is no longer a human issue.
So we wouldn't have to question how much electricity we need if the grids have to be bigger, better. We wouldn't need to worry about there's not enough
If we're
housing.
generating more energy than we are using, if we have a surplus, then yeah, there's no more energy scarcity.
Okay. It sounds way out there to me. So give me some more.
Well, I think before we go on too far, I think that we should touch on kind of our little bits of takeaway from WALL-E. Because I think that there was a lot of stuff that came out of that, at least for me and Mom. You and I both we'd seen the movie before, but A, we didn't realize how not human it was until we rewatched it recently. And B, how, y'all are going to kick me for saying this, how capitalism kind of ruined everything.
Yeah. I was really surprised. And of course, it's been 20-something years since I'd seen it.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised that it was more than halfway through the movie before you saw a human. You know, I remembered how cute WALL-E was and his relationship with Eva, kind of, because it was so cute. But then you're deep into the movie before you ever figure out where the humans are at and why they're there and what has happened to them in that span of 700 years.
Right.
And I was like, I'd forgotten all of this.
and how little they knew.
Yes.
They had all of this technology. It was sustaining them. It was making choices for them. And all of a sudden, one of the smartest guys on the spaceship cruise liner was, what is dancing? What does that mean? I've never heard music before. I mean, like, it was just so weird how sheltered they had become, while the technology that was surrounding them was incredible.
Here's the thing that I think we need to differentiate from the Wall-E universe. When you have technological advancements, just because you don't have to go and do the same job, you don't have to go and work as hard, doesn't mean that you have to do nothing.
I think that that's a really big kind of hurdle in our brains that we're missing, short-circuiting on right now.
That we just don't have a concept of yet.
Right. I mean, even when we were talking last week about all of these different things, and you're talking about if we eliminate scarcity and mom could go right for Netflix, and you're right, she could. But my whole question was, but why would she? And who would? What would the point of that be?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't compute in my brain that there's a reason to do anything.
Mom, let me ask you this. For you as an individual, if you didn't ever have to go to work again, are you just going to sit on the couch and do nothing for the rest of your life?
I mean, Boo, I
No.
think that really depends. Some people would.
I'm not asking about some people. I'm asking about you as an individual.
No, I would have
No.
to find something else to do.
Yes.
Quick
And
question,
many
though.
people would.
How would you answer that question for Dad?
Here's my take on that. I think Dad, who recently retired, has had to adjust to the idea of not going to work, and it's taken months. And there are parts of what his adjustment has been that haven't been really positive. You know, he's been on social media too much. But he's also moving into that part right now of, I need to find something to do. I'm bored now, and I need something to do.
Yeah. I mean, but I think the reason that that's exactly why, but the reason that I bring him up is because this is a smart, capable, intelligent man that the moment that you took his regiment away, his schedule away, even to some extent his given direction away, he had to recalculate
Yeah.
in his brain. And I hate to say it, but we're coming up on a year. Next month, beginning of next month is a year.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sitting here bashing Dad by any stretch. And absolutely, without question, just as guilty in moments that I have downtime and we are late today because we had to work on our outline and things because I chose to sit on the couch and play a video game on my phone instead of doing this. Because I think that we're not very good at rewiring our brains, especially with any efficiency that said, hey, you don't have to do this, but you should do it anyway. It will be good for you to go ahead and do something. You can reconfigure your schedule and your timeline, and it doesn't have to be as strict as it once was, but there has to be something. You can't just do nothing.
Right. But it's not, it has the potential from this perspective to be so much more than just, well, you don't have to do anything anymore. Instead
Yes.
of you don't have to do anything, it becomes you can do whatever you want, which are two
And
very different things.
that's a very far-fetched idea for most people.
Yeah, I think that we just don't immediately jump to, I could go learn how to cook. I could do so many beneficial, positive things with this time. I think that we have gotten lost in the doom scroll, and that
True.
has overwhelmed us in so many ways to the point that we don't even recognize it as much anymore unless we're actively talking about it, pointing it out, being judged by our peers for it. That just isn't a natural progression. I have all this free time. I could go out and do all of these other things that I want to do, that I value. I have all of this free time, and I ain't got to do nothing, so I'm not going to.
Right. And for a lot of people in our current situation, for a while, yeah, they're going to do nothing.
And
sure.
I think that's kind of what Wally illustrated. It took 700 years for them to go, there is other stuff that we could be doing. I didn't even know what other people looked like. I just talked to them on FaceTime instead of sitting next to me.
Well, here's the thing. One, through that span of 700 years, they turned into that also because they were trapped on a spaceship with very limited things to do, realistically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But hear me out. We're also talking about a cartoon that is hyperbole.
True. Yes.
Like, I get where you're coming from. And sure, will some people just stop doing anything? Sure. But most people will only be able to stop doing something for so long. And eventually they will say, I have to get up and do something.
Yeah, but boo, is that
going to be
years?
Everyone?
Yeah, what is that time frame? I mean, and I don't think that's a question that we can answer.
No,
I don't.
It isn't.
That would happen naturally, but I think, there's that old adage, whatever you think it's going to take, however long you think it's going to take, and whatever you think it's going to cost, double it.
And I think that there are people like you, Boo, who could accommodate this and accept this way more readily than I could. Because you've lived closer to it than I have, and you see the potential of it better than I do. And so I think you could acclimate better than I could. So you may have to drag me kicking and screaming into this new techno-optimist world.
So what if the result is, yes, you don't have to go to work anymore, but no one else in the world is ever going to be hungry or without warm, clean water ever again? Do I really have to drag you kicking and screaming into that? Or will you happily sit on the couch so that everyone can eat?
I mean, I think that's how it's marketed, and which way it goes and what it looks like.
But how long can she stay on the couch so everybody can eat before she just gets bored?
That's the thing. When there is no scarcity, it could be 10 minutes. It could be 10 years. It doesn't matter. She can get up and start doing something whenever she wants, and she can do whatever she wants whenever she wants because scarcity has been eliminated.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about it. Yeah. What do you see it meaning, and explain it a little bit more.
This is a coherent, specific, future-forward plan. Its framework treats accelerated innovation, entrepreneurial dynamism, and technological abundance as the primary tools for global stability. It assumes that technology is the primary lever for raising living standards globally, that abundance, energy, consumption, materials, biotech diffuses conflict, and that the U.S. should lead by building and then exporting high-impact solutions rather than trying to regulate the world or rely so heavily on military power. It also assumes that economic growth and innovation are moral imperatives.
All of those assumptions, I think, are great. I really do. But I think that, and now I'm going to start sounding like Cole, I think that there's more nuance than just looking at it at its face, saying, oh yeah, that's going to work. That's going to be perfect. Abundance is going to diffuse all conflict. I just don't think that that's realistic.
But it doesn't say that it eliminates conflict. It says that it diffuses conflict. Okay. So here's the thing. Go take a look at sub-Saharan Africa, which is made up primarily of what right now?
I don't know where you're trying to go with this.
Warlords.
Oh, I was going to say deserts.
Right. And what do you have in a desert? What is there a lack of? Everything. Resources. There is severe scarcity. So how do those warlords maintain power? Access to resources. Sure. They control the resources, so they control the population. They say, look, you can send your children to fight for me, to feed your families, or I'll kill you. or you'll starve. There aren't really any good options in that equation.
Yeah.
Well, if you eliminate their monopoly on resources, if everyone can easily and efficiently feed themselves, what benefit do they have? What power do these warlords, where this power and control has been concentrated, what do they have? What is their leverage at this point?
Only fear.
Well, again, this is where I just get so caught up in this because it does not compute in my brain. We talked dozens of episodes ago about, hey, if we could do this and everybody functions to a moral superior standard, like this could all be great. And Cole's whole point on that was, but somebody's going to come in and take advantage. So even if scarcity is eliminated, they don't have a job that they have to go do. They don't have fear that they have to go instill in all of these people. So what are the motivations of those same warlords? Because they're still alive. We didn't eliminate every bad person or everybody with not bright, shiny morals. So what are their motivations motivating them to do now? What are their driving factors?
It doesn't matter, because they no longer have the leverage. They no longer have the lever that they need to exercise those ambitions.
But I think that they're going to find another lever. I think that that's how they're built, to seek a new lever, to gain control and gain the upper hand on someone else so that they can feel better about themselves.
Sure. And again, I am not saying that this is just going to immediately fix and make the world perfect, but
Right.
It is that working towards a better quality of life for the world on a global scale. You have these people who want to take advantage of systems because those systems inherently have scarcity. That is where they are able to find footholds to generate leverage from. If you eliminate those footholds by providing a lack of scarcity, an abundance of abundance, if you will, what system is there for them to abuse?
I think that that's my point. They will make new ones.
That's possible. But I think you also live with a world that's totally different from what you're describing, Boo. And that is, if, say you take that poverty level family and they no longer have to worry about paying the bills or paying the electric or going to school or where they're going to live, that changes their life completely. And if you do that across the board, I mean, Callie, I wonder, to your part, because I certainly, I don't think evil goes away. So, I mean, there's the potential there, but I'm here wondering if everyone is comfortable for the first time maybe ever, won't they? I wonder if they will stop that, because they'll have the time and the capability and the resources to fight it. So I think that's a question to, put out there. But I still want to go back because Cole's concept here is really interesting, and I want to understand more about it.
Yeah, I want to back up here real quick and see if I can conceptualize something for you. The reason these people find systems to abuse is because of scarcity. They want to have control over the resources because the resources are not abundant enough. If you eliminate that, they no longer have an incentive to try and find a system to abuse outside of meanness, outside of being an asshole, which I think some people turn into that, but I generally don't think that is the driving force for most people.
I don't think it's for most people.
I don't either. I just, I keep hearing you in my brain say you can't legislate morality. I don't think that you can assume that eliminating scarcity eliminates bad actors.
Sure, but it would more than likely reduce them because there is no incentive to be a bad actor anymore. Why?
Money's
just to be an
there.
asshole?
Yeah.
There is no more money. Money doesn't exist anymore because it's irrelevant. If you have infinite resources, if you have more resources than everybody together could ever use, what is the incentive to try and gather those resources and hoard them? Well, you can't, because they're infinite.
I feel like, I feel like I shouldn't even say this. I feel like that's using the whole same idea, concept, mentality of really strict gun laws in places like Chicago. If we just eliminate all the guns, then we won't have any more shootings. And it doesn't work like that, because you have
it's the opposite, though, because you are not
if you give
eliminating
everybody
the incentive.
guns, we're not going to have problems either.
That's not what I'm saying.
But do you see where I'm stuck?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But I'm saying get rid of all of the guns does not remove the incentive for people to harm other people.
That's true.
Right. And so
But
I'm saying
if
that
you
abundance,
remove all of the reasons for someone to harm someone, that removes all of the reasons for them to harm each other. Because right now, why do people go and hurt each other? For stuff. Because of scarcity. The vast majority of people who do harm don't do harm to other people just because they want to inflict harm. They do harm because they are incentivized to take something from that person so that they can have it, because they don't have it already. If they do have it, what incentive do they have to go and hurt someone else and take their stuff?
I think that that's power and control.
And that's
which
what I
is
wanted.
driven by scarcity. That's what I'm trying to say.
But abundance may change the behavior, but it doesn't purify human nature.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that no one's ever going to get hurt ever again. But if you have concentrations of power, the reason you have concentrations of power is to control resources, because there is scarcity, because there is a lack of abundance. But here in the United States, we have an abundance of clean water. Do we go and rob people for clean water? No.
Yes.
Not here in the United States.
Yes. In California, it happens routinely. Yes.
Okay. California, where there is a consistent drought and scarcity of clean water. What I'm trying to say is, if you remove the incentive, you reduce the negative actions, because there's no reason to do it.
I hear you. I just think that there's more nuance than that has to be taken into consideration, because I don't think that you can. Scarcity being eliminated creates abundance. It doesn't eliminate ambition or ego or greed. We all have as much as we need, but I want more than coal. So what do I have to do to go get more than coal?
But that's what I'm trying to show you, is that if you eliminate scarcity, it doesn't matter. You can stockpile as much as you want to, because there are infinite resources. It doesn't matter how much you stockpile, because I can just go stockpile as much or more, because there is no cap to how much you can have. So it completely removes the incentive to hoard things.
That idea is so foreign to me. I mean,
I understand it's far-fetched. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's, again, not something that I think you can just snap your fingers and have happen. But in the long run, if you remove the incentive structure to harm other people, you're going to significantly reduce the amount of harm that is inflicted on other people.
Okay. We agree with that.
Okay. To build an abundant future, the plan is to essentially massively increase energy production to start. Because right now, that is really the bottleneck for everything, is energy. No, particularly as Texans, but as Americans, that our energy infrastructure is barely hanging on. So this is talking about approving and deploying 10 to 20 small modular nuclear reactors, fast-tracking geothermal energy, creating a guaranteed permit path for low-carbon energy that caps an approval time at 12 months, and building a national supergrid connected with solar-rich, wind-rich, and industrial regions. So you make energy transmission more efficient, make energy generation more efficient, and then connect all of it, which is now, again, if your energy bill was $10 a month, or you didn't have an energy bill because we were producing so much of it, how impactful would that be to you? Now imagine people who are struggling, if they have that bill eliminated, what's the average monthly electricity bill in the state of Texas?
Oh, good gosh. I have no idea. I would guess around $400 or $500.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be low
today. Mm-hmm.
For an average.
So if you take $400 or $500 times 12,
put it back into everybody's pockets.
That's a pretty significant bonus. That's a pretty significant income increase, because that's a bill that you no longer have to pay.
Yeah, $6,000 all of a sudden. But Mom, what was your thing out of COVID about if you gave families, how much money was it that you had to give them to get them out of poverty?
$2,600.
If you gave them $6,000 back immediately, free and clear, never had to worry about it or think about it again, that would change their lives. A lot of people.
Yeah. And so let's think about the dominoes that are going to fall in a scenario like this.
Right.
Okay, so we've got more energy than we can use. Not only as a country can we export that energy to the rest of the world to improve their situations, well, now domestically, it's cheaper to produce things. It's cheaper to make clothing. It's cheaper to make food. It's cheaper to make cars. It's cheaper to make toys. Everything is less expensive because it is all reliant on energy. So not only are you eliminating their energy bill and giving them $6,000 a year, you're now giving them cheaper production in the same facet, which is going to drop their prices, meaning that not only do they have more money in their pockets, their buying power goes farther because things are inherently cheaper because energy costs have been cut.
Okay. And the next step?
The next step is turn the U.S. into a global compute foundry. So this essentially means building chips at scale domestically, using those chips to provide compute power. So this is an expansion of the CHIPS Act to the Compute Act, a large-scale AI data center construction incentive package. It also talks about a national investment in quantum secure communications and post-silicon architectures, whatever that means, and federal land leases for hyperscale compute farms powered by nuclear and geothermal. So right now we're talking about, okay, we need to utilize this AI to streamline systems and make them more efficient, make our production lines faster and require less input. Okay, so in order to do that, we need more computational power, because that's essentially how you increase the efficiency of these machines. You give them a bigger brain. You give them a more powerful brain. So that's kind of what this is talking about. And it talks about the outcome of this is the U.S. becoming a world's primary supplier of safe, powerful, and abundant computation. So it makes us like a technological version of Saudi Arabia and their oil production. So we can now say, hey, we have safe, clean, powerful computation, more than we can use. And again, this is now a product that you can export to the rest of the world. India, you need help with computation? Let us help you. England, Europe, Africa, you need help with computational power? Well, we already know about cloud computing and the ability to use a computer on the other side of the planet to increase the performance of one that is local to you just by having an internet connection. We are ramping that ability up. And again, because now we have cheap energy, we now have cheap, clean computational power that we can export. Does that make sense?
I'm tracking with you.
Okay.
I'm tracking with you, but at the same time, I'm thinking about it in kind of through a different lens, if you will. So think about it like a food chain. Hey, we're this supreme leader in all of this global energy, and we're willing to share this and all of this. At some point, that also makes you a target. Because when you're at the top of the food chain, the only way you have to go is down. Does that make sense?
That's not how food chains work. No, like when you talk about a food chain, you have an apex predator. Apex predators don't generally become lesser predators in the environment. Like they have adapted to be the apex predator within their environment.
Right. But being at the top of the food chain doesn't make you invincible.
Sure.
It just means you have the furthest to fall.
Okay, and we're going to defer that thought because I think there's lots of things that you can go, oh, but how do you do X? Or, well, how do you get agreement on this? But I want to hear the full story first.
Okay.
Because this is just way beyond any scope I've ever had.
Okay. The next step they mention here is a radical permitting reform for everything that matters. So that's an 18-month max permitting window for major projects, green light zones near cities for fast build housing, labs, factories, and energy, and replacing environmental process with environmental outcomes. So that
alone would
saying,
be a significant change in how things are accomplished.
I mean,
yeah,
if I remember correctly, when Josh Shapiro took the governor's mansion or was elected to the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, that was one of the first things that they did. He launched a whole process, a whole program to expedite and fast track all of their permits. I'm trying to think back to an interview that I listened to him. They went from like more than 3 months for a permit approval to same day, and how much that injected so much opportunity into their economy. And it's one of those things that I think certainly will be studied and say, hey, how can we implement this same strategy in other places at other levels? Because it was very, very successful. It was a huge undertaking, and they just said, we're not going to call and transfer you to some other department. We're just going to take care of your need and then be done.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be so significant if you didn't have years of red tape to jump through,
Right.
and that could be streamlined. That can make a crucial difference today if we could, what did you call it, green lighting those zones, Cole?
yeah, green light
You
zones.
could do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to that conversation that we've been having for months now, heavily regulated versus carefully regulated. To say,
Right.
hey, now, Callie, this is where people are going to find ways to take advantage of the system. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you now reduce some of that red tape, there's a better opportunity for bad actors to come through and abuse that system. Sure. In the long run, hopefully, especially if you now have energy abundance and more compute, it is just in general going to be less expensive to take on these projects. And now it is easier regulatorily speaking. So
that's the first one that I've gone, oh, I can see that, how that works, and how that would produce change and not had that. Let me think about that one a minute. So I like that one.
I like it too. Like, please no, I'm not trying to come in and shit on everything, but I do kind of feel like in this really weird way that, Cole, you and I have completely flip-flopped. Like, you're saying, hey, this is what is a possibility and we can be hopeful for this and this could be so beneficial. And I'm sitting here going, but that's not how humans work. That's not how human nature is actually going to function. Like, that's not realistic. You can't, just because you hope that doesn't mean it is a reality. It can become a reality.
I'm just telling you, let him hope.
I'm not trying to stifle the hope. I want the hope.
I want him to have some.
I think it's so funny because I feel like we have completely switched seats here of me saying, hey, everything's possible. And Cole saying, nope, not possible. And now Cole's saying, it's all possible. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
it is kind of an interesting conundrum there. But the reason for that flip is because with scarcity, human nature forces us to try and say, I need more than the guy next to me so that I can feed myself and my family. But if there is no scarcity, there's no longer any competition.
Share them with y'all, because I just feel like these are all of these conversations that we've had feeding right back into this. If we were to go and look at hiring people without names on it and eliminating the bias, that doesn't really eliminate the bias. There are other steps that have to be taken. And I feel like it's the same thing here. Like, all of these are individual stepping stones to progress, but with each of those stepping stones comes a new air issue challenge.
And here's my take on this, Boo. If you make her head explode today, I'm going to be really mad at you. Because this is way against her normal.
Yeah, it feels so weird. Is this what life is like for you, Cole? I'm very sorry.
Keep going.
Yeah, pretty much. So essentially, taking a little step back here, the outcome there is that the U.S. can start building things again. We can build affordable housing for people. We now have really cheap, abundant energy. It's not something that we now have to compete for anymore because we're just generating more than we need. So the next kind of step here is tech-driven global prosperity. It is the ability to now export abundance, like I've mentioned previously. So we can export clean energy infrastructure. The actions that it's looking for us to take here is to build a U.S.-led global clean energy export core. So that's energy transmission technology. That is being able to go to places around the world that don't have efficient energy structures and saying, hey, let us show you how to build this. Yeah, let us show you how to build this. We'll help you. That makes you self-sufficient. We're already self-sufficient.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. So what they talk about here, build that U.S.-led global clean energy export core, having public-private partnerships to electrify Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, providing cheap U.S.-made batteries and microgrids to developing nations for the purpose of energy abundance reduces conflict, poverty, and authoritarian leverage. Kind of like I was talking about earlier with warlords in Africa. If they no longer have an incentive, if they no longer have leverage over the people that they are ruling over, what reason do the people have to support them? They don't have it anymore. So kind of part two of that tech-driven global prosperity portion of the plan is global AI access. That is AI embassies for developing nations, with a plan to establish U.S.-partnered AI hubs in 30-plus countries to provide compute credits and training to governments, universities, and startups for AI utilization, and use safe, aligned U.S. AI models to jumpstart education, healthcare, and governance. To say, hey, you're doing these things inefficiently, AI can show you how to do them better.
That sounds great to me.
I agree, and I'm so excited to get to our good news story because I'm super pumped because it is all tied in here. But keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, I mean, kind of the outcome of those two pieces of that part of the plan is just digital development leapfrogs physical development. AI becomes a stabilizing export instead of this is, I think, why so many people right now are so focused on investing in AI and trying to win that AI race, because whoever gets there first gets to kind of start to implement plans like this to say, hey, this is how we think you should do it.
Well,
these are the AIs, these are the programs that we have made and that our AIs have come up with, so we think they're better.
And I think that kind of the next step above that, the next rung of that ladder, if you will, truly is the people who are focused on creating those data centers to run all of that. You can do whatever you want with your AI. I'll provide you the power and energy to do so. Those are the people who are really going to end up winning this race most.
In the short term? Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. All right. So the next chunk of the plan is to build a network of innovation-free trade zones. So that means special economic zones co-developed with U.S. companies and host nations. These are zones that would prioritize biotech, robotics, logistics, and advanced manufacturing, and provide regulatory sandboxes for rapid experimentation. So this is...
What does innovation free trade zone mean? Is that just sharing?
Sort of, yeah. So what this is really trying to get to is, so hey, here in the United States, we have figured out this cheap energy, this massive exportable compute. So because we have so much of it, we can now show you how to do it too. So we're going to try and persuade your government to set up these free trade zones to partner with US companies to build your technological infrastructure, to build your own data centers, your own AI foundries. And now, because you have all of this infrastructure set up, now you can start focusing on advancement. Things like biotech. Hey, this guy was helping us construct this AI data center. A beam fell on him and he lost his arm. Here's a robotic arm.
It
Okay.
sounds,
I mean, it sounds outlandish, but
it sounds a lot like open source software to me.
yeah, very much so.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
that
Like,
makes sense.
oh, hold on, this works. I'm going to share this with everybody else, and you can take it and do with what you will, but here's a really good foundation and place for you to start.
Okay.
Right. But instead of prioritizing like music labs or video editing software, we're prioritizing things like medicine and technological advancement. So we're
Right.
saying, hey, we're going to build the ladder first, and then you can climb the ladder as much as you want.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, with the
Yes.
outcome there being localized prosperity. Because here's the thing, if you export all of this to the favelas of Brazil, to the third world nations across Africa, and you say, hey, now you have not only an abundance of energy, you have training programs to get your people up to speed on how to utilize this technology. You're now focused on maintaining and advancing that infrastructure. If I'm over here, if I'm painting a painting and Callie is on the other side of the room painting her own painting, there is less of an opportunity for us to get in a fight because we're both focused on our own thing. Does that make sense?
As a mother, I would agree with that statement. Yes.
Unless my painting
Because
is better than yours, and then I'm going to start reminding you of that. I'm
well,
teasing, I'm
sure,
teasing.
and that's all well and good, and you're not necessarily wrong, but you and I don't need to come take your paint because I've got more than enough paint for myself.
Right. Right.
All right. So the kind of part 3 here is lead to the next vital technologies. So this is where we start talking about the next industrial revolution, biotech as the 21st century version of it. This is where the U.S. invests heavily in distributed biomanufacturing, biofoundries, and fermentation plants. This is fast-tracking FDA pathways to low-risk therapies and personalized medicine, and a major push for synthetic biology to produce materials, fuels, and foods. So this is things like lab-grown meat, lab-grown plants. But when you can just 3D print a ham, that means you don't have to kill pigs anymore.
Which I'm fine with. I'm fine with not killing the pigs. I just don't trust the people around me to say, oh, this is the best way to print a real good 3D ham that is going to benefit your body rather than keep you in a certain spot where I can manipulate your well-being.
Yeah. A healthy version.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That is why you have to, again, create a system where there is a lack of scarcity, because again, that removes the incentive for them to take advantage of you.
And again, kind of going back to my open source software, if everything is all open kimono, whatever that is, like, I know that this is not a good, healthy ham, so I'm going to skip that one and go over here because there is no scarcity. I can choose whichever one I want. I want the good ham. I want the bad ham.
Right.
And I can make my own choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The intended outcome of this portion of the plan is a new industrial base that outcompetes petrochemical geopolitics.
And again, Cole, I can see this one happening. This one makes perfect sense to me. The function of it and the projection of it. I can see that all happening.
All right. The next part here is robotics and automation as an answer to labor shortages. Now, right now, I'm not super convinced that there is really that much of a labor shortage. I think there are a lot of people trying to find jobs that are struggling to do it, at least within our economy or our portion of it. But what this does is it incentivizes factory automation and robotic agriculture, incentivizing using federal research and development to create general purpose robots, the labor equivalent of the PC. And it's talking about retaining a workforce with free AI personalized upskilling. So instead of me having to go and dig a ditch, I now
Have a Wally
tell
for
the
that.
robot, I now tell the robot, hey, go dig this ditch and make sure that he's digging in the right spot. I know how to program him. I know how to utilize him and tell him what to do. So the robot gets to do the hard work and I get to control what it does.
And is that some type of education for the people who can't train that robot to learn how to train that robot?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Here's my question. What happens to the ditch digger that the robot starts
Just
digging the
took his
ditch?
job.
What
He
happens
doesn't need
to
a job
him?
anymore. He can do whatever he wants because there's an abundance of energy. There's an abundance of food. There's limitless
He
clean
wants
water.
freedom.
Like he can get whatever he needs.
Okay.
Now he can spend his time. The ditch digger becomes a painter or a rapper or a movie maker,
Okay.
whatever he wants to do.
Or a Candy Crush champion.
Sure.
Again, I keep kind of twitching over here because I go back to Wally. Like, I can do anything I want, so I'm just going to sit here and do nothing and eat until I'm fat and happy and everything's going to be fine. And I'm just like, well, this sounds scary.
And are some people going to do that? Yes, sure. Absolutely. Is everyone going to do that? No, because we already know that we couldn't. I mean, I probably could, but you two can't sit still long enough. You would have to get up and do something.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it would be like that.
Okay. Next step.
Let's see. Yeah. The kind of, I think this is kind of like nope, it's not. So the section 4 here is peace through prosperity and tech leadership, with kind of the first part of this plan being to reduce global conflict by making scarcity obsolete. So energy abundance leads to fewer resource wars. AR government tools lead to less corruption and better institutions. Economic opportunity leads to less extremism and migration pressure. Biotech-driven food and water solutions leads to fewer climate-driven crises. Technology becomes a stabilizer and not just an economic asset.
Oh, that's interesting.
What you got?
I'm just going to keep my little mouth shut over here.
Again, look, fewer, less, fewer. It's not saying that it completely eliminates it.
Which I get, but I'm thinking back and we know that history is not my strong suit. We know this. I am not by any stretch of the imagination some kind of history aficionado who is very, very well versed. But I'm thinking back to ancient times, biblical times even, where all of these religion wars were taking place. This religion versus that religion. What is all of this? That's my question. Like, what is all of this solving to where that wouldn't be the case anymore?
Food, land, water.
Scarcity of what, though?
I think
food, land, water.
I'm not sure that it. I mean, especially if you go to those biblical wars, because when you were talking about this, the thing that popped into my head was Ukraine and Russia, and scarcity doesn't really have anything to do with Ukraine and Russia, does it?
Well, I mean, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. It generates like a quarter to a third of like all of the wheat grown in Europe.
Okay.
Now,
and so if you don't have to
is it
fight
more
for that,
geopolitically complex than that? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. But there is 100% a resource reason why. I mean, freshwater ports.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, keep going.
And again, everybody has to participate in this for it to work. We have to be able to say, hey, look what we've been able to do. Can we help you implement this? And they have to say yes. I get it. It's not just
I love it. I love this as a plan. I love this as a concept. I just feel like Cole saying, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. But I just don't, I can't, it doesn't compute.
Here's what I want to know. What if it gets us closer?
You know me. I'm all for getting closer.
Yeah.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah. So I'm interested. Keep
I'm
going.
very interested. I just cannot make it make sense in my brain how it would work, how you're going to get everybody on board. You can't legislate morality, but you can carefully regulate better
Agreement.
agreement.
But see, here's the thing. We're not going and regulating the world. We're not saying, oh, you can't do these things. We're saying, hey, you don't have to want for anything. There's not any reason to fight anymore because there's nothing to fight over.
I just think that no matter how logical you can come at this from, somebody is going to find a new reason to make a scene, to want. Yeah. Well, I want different. I want more. I want mine. I am more important, and I can't figure out how we're going to combat that.
Well, you don't have to combat that because there's no reason for anyone to join them because everybody has everything they need. That's the whole point. You don't get these people like, yeah, are people going to abuse the system? Sure. But they no longer have any way to incentivize people to join them because they're just crazy.
I just feel like especially crime in Texas is a really excellent kind of viewpoint on this, right? We make jokes that everybody in Texas has a gun. You do not go and steal shit from somebody's car because they're going to come out and shoot you. You don't go and bang on their doors and act like an idiot because then you're a 15-year-old kid who gets shot because you're ding-dong ditching. We've seen all of these happen. We've seen these things happen. But what is the saying? Idle hands are the devil's
playground.
Yes. I mean, like, so if you're putting in all of this, hey, this could make your life so much better. This could be so helpful for you. You don't have to do it. We can't legislate you and we can't make you do it from whatever corner of the world you're coming from, but we can offer it to you. I think is a wildly beneficial process and task. I just can't comprehend, which maybe it's just me. Maybe Callie comprehending isn't a necessity, and that's fine. But I cannot comprehend how it isn't going to be turned around. I agree with you in that will it be turned around into negative less? Yes. Until what? Until what is the next catalyst that says, oh, then I kind of go back to Texas crime. I cannot comprehend why anybody would come and steal catalytic converters. Well, because Callie,
there is an incentive to do so.
Right. Yeah. But there is also an incentive to get a job that's much longer term and that has a much lower risk of getting shot underneath somebody's car, pulling out their spray painted hot pink catalytic converter. And yet they still do it because for whatever reason,
if you can't get a job, if you've grown up in a neighborhood or in a family that has struggled to get a job,
mm-hmm.
and if you take that out and you take away those struggles, then maybe you take away the incentive for the catalytic converter. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious what the timeline looks like on this, Boo. I mean, are we talking 700 years or, you know?
I mean, you're probably looking at decades at a minimum just to build the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really has a timeline on it.
It's such a positive incentive towards AI that we don't usually look at or address.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. And there's this part of my brain that's just going, what if we could?
Yeah. I love that.
What would it look like if we could?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a best case scenario for AI.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting concept.
I'm also sitting here. This is all mixed with the stuff that's floating around in my brain. I'm about halfway through for the first time Handmaid's Tale. I'd never watched it. I'd never read the book. And you had this group of people who said, hey, we're going to make the world exactly what we want it to be. But you have these people who set out and said, hey, we're going to turn this place, the world, the United States, into this idealist, wonderful place that is all done by the Bible and biblically speaking. And this is what the Bible says. And at face value, they looked at it and said, this is going to be great. Who is going to argue with this? It is going to be so good. And it was so bad.
Because it's a warped view.
Because it is. It's a warped view. And so I'm sitting here wondering, how is this warped? And the other kind of part that I think is worth noting or calling out loud, this is AI's view of a technology optimist view of how to fix the world, because it serves them. It serves AI. And so even this is getting manipulated into a greedy thing. You know what I mean?
Maybe not greedy.
Maybe greedy isn't the right word. A self-serving.
Again, I understand what you're saying, but there is no incentive to be greedy if scarcity is, literally greed is the hoarding of scarce resources. If nothing is scarce anymore, you being greedy doesn't harm anyone else. So if you want to hoard it. Who cares?
Again, keep going.
So the next part of the plan here is a deterrent shift. It's moving from a military footprint to technological supremacy, with the plan to be focuses on autonomous defense systems, cyber defense, and space infrastructure to reduce reliance on large troop deployments and invest in intelligent defense networks, and to create U.S. allies tech shields, shared defense AI, satellites, and hyperspectral sensors, with the outcome to be fewer endless wars, stronger deterrence through capability, and not occupation.
So when you go back and you say to focus on autonomous defense systems, does that mean
North Korea, we
robotic?
don't care what you do because you can launch as many missiles as you want. We'll just eliminate them.
We'll defend against them without thinking about it.
We don't have to invade you. You can continue to be an asshole because you don't have the power to do anything. You have no power to exercise against us, so we don't have to worry about you anymore.
Okay. Cyber defense makes sense to me. And then space infrastructure, is that
It's just capability.
exploration to other planets?
In this instance, no.
Oh, okay.
And this is talking about space infrastructure, particularly for defense. Hey, we've got these satellites that can see when you launch a missile, and they're extremely accurate and they're very fast, and we have enough of them that there's not any gaps.
And we have a part of that already built. Okay. I would go for fewer endless wars.
Amen.
And non-occupation. I'd go for that.
Yeah. So kind of part 5 of the plan that it lays out here is domestic social stability through abundance. So it's got a housing abundance plan, which is to legalize multifamily housing nationwide via federal incentives, encourage 3D printed and modular construction companies, and create experimental housing districts with relaxed zoning.
That's
the outcome
interesting.
intended to be lower living costs and less political polarization and stress. Well, because if your mortgage goes from $2,000 a month to $700 a month to eventually nothing because we have an excess of housing, I mean, we have millions, if not billions, of unused acreage across the United States. There's plenty of room. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to just see the United States paved over with concrete, but we don't need that yet.
Okay.
Yet. We don't need that yet. But if there's no scarcity, everybody has all kinds of opportunity to do anything and everything that they want. They can go write, they can go paint, they can also go make babies.
That's where I was thinking. All of a sudden, all of our boredom becomes a national baby boom.
Yeah.
We're already doing that.
Not technically. We're lower than normal for having babies, but I mean, you could certainly boost that up if nobody's got anything to.
You can already go and make babies. You may not be able to afford all of them.
That's true. That's true. I like this next point.
The next point is education abundance. This is AI tutors for every student with a national digital curriculum. This is universities that adopt AI scale productivity and utilize that to get funding boosts, or universities that do adopt it get funding boosts. And this is also it also asks to create a national skills cloud for lifelong upskilling, to essentially
that?
say it's a depository or a repository for like information. So it is a structured curriculum that is just kind of used as a baseline. So like right now you have the Texas education system, and within the Texas education system, you have all of these independent school districts that develop their own curriculums that are kind of roughly based on the Texas education system. Texas says, these are the things that you have to teach kids. These are the tests that they have to pass. This is essentially saying, okay, instead of having all of these individual units that are building their own curriculums, we're going to set up a national baseline and fill it with good, usable education material so that, hey, right now I am a base level coder, but because there is a national AI education system and I have my own AI education tutor, I can go and apply myself and learn whatever I want to out of this repository. So if I want to go become better at X part of my field, I can do that efficiently without having to go into debt to do it.
I can already hear what Callie's going to say.
Do it. Hit me with it.
She's going to say, who controls that national curriculum?
Who decides?
And what keeps it from being the Handmaid's Tale,
where women are not allowed to read.
Sounds so great. I mean, it's a good idea. This is Christian based. We're going to do this. It's going to be great.
Until it's not.
Yeah. But is it really Christian based if you're oppressing people?
And so that's the whole thing about the Handmaid's Tale. They've got scripture to back it up.
Yeah.
It's not rape because what's-his-face's sister or sister-in-law had to sleep with him because Rebecca couldn't have children. It's biblical. It's in the Bible. God said this. So it's not rape. It's fine.
It can certainly be twisted. And so you've got to have something that...
This is a debate that is not, that should not be placed in this episode.
Sorry.
I understand what you're saying. You're also referencing a fictional hyperbole.
Yes. Okay. But at the same time, like, let me say this. If the current administration that we have in real life said, hey, we're going to start developing a national curriculum, I would panic. If the last administration came out and said, hey, we're going to develop a national curriculum, I would also panic.
I agree. So maybe you let the artificial intelligence govern itself in this manner to say, hey,
what do people who don't have any reason to do anything need to know? You know what I mean?
Well, because there's a transition period in there, Cal.
Sure.
That you are going to have to know something. Okay. I'm just saying, I could hear her words without her even opening her mouth. I like the next point too.
Yeah. Healthcare abundance, AI diagnostics as a first-line medical workflow, a national telehealth infrastructure, gene therapy and preventative care push. The outcome being cheaper, faster, more accessible healthcare.
All I can say to that is your lips to God's ears. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Again, just to kind of that's kind of the end of their outline for the plan there. And the TLDR, if you will, is build technological abundance at home, export it everywhere, and let prosperity, not coercion, shape the world.
I mean, I like the idea. Certainly see that there could be some glitches.
Sure.
Yeah.
Some hiccups, to say the least.
Yeah. But then again, Cole, if it can be done by AI intelligence and that AI intelligence is programmed appropriately, man, that could be amazing.
And
but
productive.
There's a couple of ifs in there that would definitely have to be worked out.
Well, and I feel like would be all built upon each other. If all of those went the right way, and again, somebody's got to decide what the right way is. But if all of those went the right way, great. But if all of them except for one went the right way, then everything is kind of ruined.
Yeah. And I think it also requires what's the word I'm looking for? An agreement.
A commitment.
That we certainly lack in this country these days.
Yes.
So if you base that on political ideology, it where you go with this depends on which administration is in hand.
That's the whole thing. Right now, why are we so politically divided in this country?
That's a great question.
Because the quality of life has deteriorated significantly for the vast majority of people.
Okay.
So that opens up opportunity for extremists to come out and blame it on someone else.
Yeah.
Well, if you can just massively improve the quality of life, well, Republicans and Democrats didn't do this, so what do we need Republicans and Democrats for?
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Sure, it is not a riskless scenario. Again, this is like a best case thing for AI. I get that. But to me, I can comprehend this a whole lot better than, well, if everybody would just be nice to each other.
Oh, hush.
It was an interesting point of view.
It's a fascinating point of view.
Absolutely.
I think you're absolutely right, Callie, to take a look at this and say, hey, we should take this with a gigantic bucket of salt. I agree. Something that there is certainly potential for many of these innovations to be abused. And so I think that to a certain degree, you have to, as a society, come together and say, hey, this is our intention with this. This is what we're going to allow this to be used for. And if you decide you're going to use it for something else, we're not going to help you. We're not going to participate in that.
Yeah. But again, getting that society to come to an agreement, especially these days, seems almost impossible.
I think you have to have someone who is going to prioritize these innovations to increase abundance and reduce scarcity. Because that's, I mean, really the driving factor. Why do lions kill elephants? Because they're hungry.
They're hungry. Yeah. Not because they're mean.
It's really that simple.
All right. Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask you, Boo, but what's our weird question?
So our weird thought today was about contextualizing the rapidity of technological advancement. So I was talking to you guys on the phone as I was driving home for about 2 hours the other night. And we started talking about Mom used to have a Palm Pilot. And Callie went and looked it up, and Palm Pilots were really kind of popularized in the late 90s. I think they kind of had their run from like 96 to 2000.
Yes.
I love that thing, by the way.
We know.
Yeah. For those of you, Mom, what is a Palm Pilot for the people who aren't aware?
I mean, it was really a digital assistant. It had your calendar on it. It had everything on it. I mean, I could go to it for everything that I wanted was right in the palm of my hand.
Was it connected to the internet?
No.
I think it was. I think you could sync it with something.
You could sync it.
Device, like your computer, but I don't think it was freely connected to the internet.
Correct.
It was a digital agenda.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like the Palm Pilot had to walk so that the iPhone could run.
Very much so. But there's a step between them that kind of bridged that gap. Because, Mom, at the time, you had a Palm Pilot and a flip phone.
No, I probably just had the flip phone originally. And then I went to a BlackBerry. I'm pretty sure.
But before you had a BlackBerry, you had a phone and a Palm Pilot. Yes, you did. 100%.
Okay.
It was a red plastic case.
Probably.
Sounds about right.
Because you couldn't make phone calls on the Palm Pilot.
Right.
And
Correct.
the phone didn't have the scheduling tools that your Palm Pilot did.
Right.
But
and
you could play Snake.
You could play Snake on that phone.
I did not play Snake on the phone.
I did.
Yeah, but we did a lot.
Okay.
So
anyway,
you also couldn't check your email on your phone or on the Palm Pilot because the Palm Pilot wasn't connected to the internet. So that
probably
next
didn't have
step,
email.
It existed.
Yeah, but we probably weren't working with email.
1989.
Yeah.
In the late 90s, how were you communicating with people that you worked with?
Having conversations.
She called them or walked to their desk on a landline.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you had email in 2000.
I would have had email in 2000. Yeah.
I know. Anyways, the next kind of logical step was, a combination of your cell phone and your Palm Pilot, which was your BlackBerry.
Yes.
Your BlackBerry was also kind of that introductory phase where now you also had the internet incorporated with that as well. So you could get text messages, you could get emails, you could do some basic web browsing on your BlackBerry.
And emoticons.
It also had that same digital agenda capability where you had your calendar and reminders and things like that your Palm Pilot did. And BlackBerries were really popular from like 2001 to 2005-ish?
Yeah. But BlackBerry's like the big thing about BlackBerry, the big infusion of technology in BlackBerry was BlackBerry Messenger. It wasn't just, and I don't even want to say text messages because text messages at the time were not at all what text messages were today. Not anywhere close. And so BlackBerry came out with BlackBerry Messenger where you could send short messages, short emails directly from one BlackBerry to another BlackBerry, and you could communicate quickly via text messages, essentially, before text messaging grew into
this was in the age of T9 where everybody had 12 buttons on their keypad.
Yeah, 2 to get an E.
Yeah, well, now BlackBerry has a full keyboard.
Keyboard.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty significant step forward at the time. Well, I mean, we're talking, you had a BlackBerry probably through the mid to late 2000s, I would guess. And then right after that is really the birth of smartphones with the first generation iPhone.
In 2007.
And so,
I got my first iPhone. I was an iPhone 3 was my first one. I got it in 2008. And it was a big, huge, frustrating to do to go from my BlackBerry to an iPhone. It's like, who needs that? Love my BlackBerry. Leave me alone.
I loved my BlackBerry.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of another highlight on our weird thought here is sometimes we're pretty resistant to change. But the cell phone that I carry around in my pocket is one of the most powerful computers ever built relative to human history. If I took this Android back to 1999, I could literally take over the entire world.
This iPhone is more my single one, which is not the fanciest, craziest one out there. But my single iPhone is more productive and powerful than every Palm Pilot combined.
It is more powerful than the computer NASA used to get us to the moon.
By leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And I know that sounds like a lot of years, but they go like this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When you talk about those first couple of steps, think about how much advancement we're talking about from 96 to 2008. Talking about a 12-year span. We moved from having two different devices. One of them couldn't connect to neither one of them could really connect to the internet. One of them was a cell phone, so it kind of had text messages, and you could call and talk to people over a voice line, and then you had a digital agenda. And within 12 years, not only are both of those two devices
completely
plus dozens
obsolete.
of others combined into a singular device that was, at the time, one of the coolest things anybody had ever seen.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
You take it back 50 years and it's witchcraft.
Yeah. I was going to say, we were talking about WALL-E earlier. WALL-E came out in 2007, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's some pretty powerful foresight for Disney animators, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yes.
It was.
iPhone's coming out, WALL-E's coming out, and we're all going, oh, God, more technology. And this is where we are now.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say that these are pretty significantly advanced relative to those first couple generations of iPhones. And that is essentially hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of engineers working together over the course of a 30-year span to make these improvements. And the way that this weird thought kind of came into my mind is there was a lot of work from a tremendous number of individual people to make those advancements. But what if your Palm Pilot was like AI and it could improve itself? It didn't need the input of hundreds of dozens or thousands or tens of thousands of engineers to make itself better, to turn itself into an iPhone.
And how fast is that transition going to be?
Fast that is going to accelerate.
I don't know if that's a weird thought, Boo, or if that's a
Scary
mind-blowing
thought.
Scary.
I mean,
too.
it's both.
Yeah. Okay, Cal, we made you wait. You're so excited about this good news story. This is a great good news.
This is a really cool good news story, and it shows that, hey, this advancement in technology doesn't have to be a bad thing. Good things can come from it. I think it's a really good highlight for that.
Yeah. So it feels both futuristic and incredibly practical all at the same time. And it's because of all of those people asking questions and pushing for innovation and saying, hey, can we do this differently? So in Finland, they're doing something really smart with these data centers that we're talking about. Remember, data centers are these massive buildings full of servers and computers that power everything from your streaming TV shows to cloud storage, all kinds of stuff. Normally, those servers generate a ton of heat. And so people spend lots of money cooling those data centers to keep those servers optimally functioning. And so they get rid of that heat, just put it out into the world, out into the atmosphere. And they spend a lot of money.
If you will.
They spend a lot of money to exhaust that heat. Well, Finland started looking at this problem and they said, what if we use the heat instead? What if we didn't just get rid of it? So instead of venting, I know, it's so cool. So instead of venting the heat out into the air and letting the rest of the world deal with it, they started capturing it and piping it into local districts' heating systems to warm homes and schools and office buildings. And because Finland is already cold most of the year, the heat is incredibly valuable. So think about it. They're spending all of this money to cool these data centers, then to reuse the heat or to reheat everything. They're spending more money to do that. This is two birds with one stone kind of thing. So they're taking these data centers and they're now building them underground, where the Earth's core temperature has a lot less fluctuation, right? It's automatically cooler. And so they're putting them in old bomb shelters from previous wars or abandoned mines where it's a naturally cool environment so that it helps all of those servers run more efficiently. The computers stay cool, the excess heat gets recycled, and all of these places around Finland get cleaner, more sustainable warmth. It lowers emissions. Cool. It lowers heating cost. It's a smarter use of existing infrastructure in these bomb shelters and things like that didn't have a purpose or didn't serve a purpose. Now they're being repurposed for something that makes so much sense. So I just think it's super cool. The thing that is powering your emails and your phone and your Netflix queue could also be keeping somebody's house warm over the winter. I think that we're talking about feeling hopeful. I think that if that is a glimpse of hopefulness, that shows how technology can work with the world instead of against it.
Yeah. I just think it's really funny because the guy sitting next to the guy who thought this up heard him come up with this plan and goes, how did none of us think of this?
Yes.
It's so obvious.
Yes.
How did we not think of this until now?
Yes.
I just want to see it expanded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a fascinating idea. And if we're building all of these data centers, we have this power right at our hands. It's a really cool, good story.
It's so neat. And once you dig into more of it, it explains how it all works and how it all is piped and plumbed. I mean, it's plumbing all of this heat into radiators because the water is being heated. And so it's so cool.
It gives me hope that maybe some of coal's lack of scarcity has potential.
Well, and I think as he was cycling through those, Mom, you and I were both like, that sounds like a great idea. Why haven't we done it? Like
Yeah.
the concept of how we're looking at it and addressing it is very similar. And I think that if we can use that as a launching pad to make things better, to try things differently, what if it works?
Pretty cool. Thanks
So
for
neat.
sharing that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about AI or scarcity that
That's all I got in me today.
I love you guys.
Love
Love
y'all.
you too.
Bye.